Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. So today we want to present HACCP system requirement for hospital menu, especially for the Crohn disease patient. My name is Nur Haslinda binti Abdul Halim. What is Crohn disease actually? A Crohn disease is an inflammatory bowel disease that causes inflammations of our digestive tract that can lead to the abdominal pain, severe diarrhea, fatigue, weight loss, and malnutrition. So it is important to have a good nutrition that help to manage Crohn disease. For example, changing to a specific diet such as diet that has a high in calorie, lactose-free or low fat. So this is a breakfast menu for a Crohn disease patient that we suggest. Number one is a scrambled egg on toast with avocado and tomatoes. And the second one is a banana with a peanut butter smoothie. So this is an ingredient that we need to make a scrambled egg and a banana with peanut butter smoothie. So this slide show the flow chart to make a scrambled egg on toast. So firstly, toast the slice of the white bread is a CCP1. Mix the egg in a bowl with the pepper is CCP2. Pour the mix into the heated non-stick pan is a CP1. Stir constantly for 2 minutes or until the egg is fully cooked is CCP3. Cut the avocado is CCP4 and CP2. And add some tomatoes on the top of the egg is also CCP5 and have a CP3. And lastly, serve over the toast, treat on the plate and serve, and ready to serve is CP4. So this slide show we want to elaborate one by one. So the CCP1, the temperature of heat and time. So the hazard is a microbiological survival of the mold on the bread. So the critical limit is the date of the storage of bread is 5 until the 7 days in pantry, and the toast the temperature is 140 degrees and toast about for 1 until 2 minutes. So we monitor the conditions of the white bread before we toast and make sure there is no mold, and we check the temperature of the toaster. So if the temperature toast does not reach the critical limit, we continue to cook. So the second one is CCP2, the temperature of storing the egg. As we know, egg have the biological hazards such as salmonella, physical hazard the egg shells, and allergen hazard is egg intolerance. So we store at the refrigerator to maintain the egg freshness and maximize their lifespan. We use 8 degrees Celsius and wash the egg with the clean water. We monitor the egg before we mix in the bowl. Clean egg, we make sure it's free from the visible defect of the shells and contents, and egg should be mixed well. Check if the patients have intolerance or not. So for the corrective actions, we throwing out the egg if the egg was expired or defect. Keep the egg in the middle shelf of chill and eat the carton to maintain the temperature. The next one is CCP3, the temperature and the time of the cooking the scrambled egg. So the hazard is microbiological involved in the egg. So the critical limit, we use the temperature 75 degrees for the 2 until 3 minutes to cook the scrambled egg. And we'll monitor the temperature of the egg and check the egg to make sure it's fully cooked. And the corrective actions that we do is we continue to cook if the temperature of the egg doesn't reach the critical limit. So the next one is CCP4, which is temperature of the storing avocado. We know the contaminations of the avocado with the bacteria such as the Listeria contaminations. So we store the avocado at the refrigerator to keep them fresh and slow down ripening process is important, which is we use 4 degrees Celsius. The temperature will be monitored. If the temperature of the refrigerator not suitable for storing avocado, the temperature will adjust until it accepts the critical limit. This is corrective action that we do. So for the CCP1 is also the same with the CCP4, which is temperature of the storing tomatoes, because it has the contamination of tomato with the bacteria. And the critical limit is a stored tomato in the refrigerator to maintain the freshness, and we monitor the temperature. And if the temperature of the refrigerator is not suitable for the storing tomato, we adjust until it accepts the critical limit. So the next one is a CP1 and CP4 is the same, which is conditions of the pan and the conditions of the plate. We must make sure the pan and the plate is clean and not harmful for the patients. And we for the condition of the plate, we immediately serve the toast after cooking to consume, best within the 4 hours. So for the pan is have a hazard corrective actions that we do is change the pan if there is a hazard. And for the CP4, we throwing out the food if there is more than 4 hours to serve after cooking to the patient. The next one is CP2 and CP3 is also the same, which is a contaminations of the avocado or tomatoes with some soils or bacteria. So we just check the avocado to make sure they are properly washed with thoroughly under running water before eating, cutting or cooking. The same goes to the tomato. And we check daily the quality of the fruit in the cold storage before we use to cook, and check the labels and use by date. So the corrective actions that we do, remove the unwashed fruit and wash them before the serve, and label and date fresh cut fruit. So for the second menu, we have banana with a peanut butter smoothie. Okay, for the this is a flow chart that show how to make it. And first step is add the frozen banana, peanut butter and a few splash of the milk into the blender. So this is CCP1 and CP1. And the second one is until it's smooth. The third one is add more meat if to thin the smoothie of desire. And lastly is smoothie is ready to serve is CP2. So break one by one. CCP1 is the cold storage of the meat. Basically, we receive the meat from the supplier. So before we make a smoothie, it has bacteria in the meat become the hazard. So the critically meat store the meat in the refrigerator as soon as possible after we receive or we purchase, and we check the use by date of the meat for the quality, and check the meat to ensure that the meat is surely is pasteurized meat. And the corrective actions that we do if we throwing away if the meat is spoiled. And then the second one is a CP. We have a two, CP1 and CP2. CP1 is a chemical used in the crops to prevent the insect, pest infections on the banana or the germs from the bird poop. So what we do is we check the banana before we blend to make sure they are safe to use, and check the banana to ensure it was properly washed, and clean hand before and after we blend it. The corrective actions that we do, we throw it away if the quality of the banana is distraught, and remove the unwashed fruit and wash them before we serve, and label and date fresh cut fruit. For the CP2, the condition of the glass, so we check first the glass to make sure it is clean and not harmful for the patients, and immediately we serve the smoothie after we done. Best consume 4 hours, and we just throwing away of the food if there is more than 4 hours to serve. Is the corrective actions that we do.
Flowchart of serving for sandy scrambled egg. Storing is CP1, washing is CP1, boiling is CP2 and cover CP2, peeling is CP3 and scrambling is CP4. Washing is CP5, cutting is CP6, putting is CP7, and lastly serving is CP8. HACCP plan table. Storing is biological hazards. So for the CCP, time of egg storage must not exceed 3 to 5 weeks, and the egg store in closed container with suitable temperature not more than 7. For preventive measure, record and check regularly the storage date and regular checking egg storage temperature. For corrective action, discard egg if already exceed storage time or expired. For washing, it has physical hazard and biological hazard. For CP, the water used must be clean. For preventive measure, check the cleanliness of water before use for washing, and check the condition of egg after washing. For corrective action, use other source of clean water and wash egg again if it is still dirty. For boiling, it has physical hazard and biological hazard. For the CP, the water must be clean. For the CCP, water temperature to boil the egg must be 71 and above. For preventive measures, regular checking of water temperature, and for corrective action, continue boiling until temperature is 71 and more. For peeling, biological hazard, the CP, the handler must wash hand. For preventive measure, personal hygiene. Corrective action, wash the peeling egg to ensure it is clean. For scrambling, it has physical hazard. For the CP, ensure that the scrambled egg has free from eggshells and foreign matters, and make sure the bowl is clean. For the preventive measure, check if there are foreign matters in the scrambled egg, and for corrective action, pick them if present and discard if they are hard to pick. For washing, it has physical hazard and chemical hazard. For the CP, the water used must be clean. For the preventive measure, check the cleanliness of water and check the condition of vegetables after washing. For the corrective action, use other source of clean water and wash again with clean water if still dirty. For cutting, it has biological hazard. The handler must wash hand for the CP, and for the preventive measure, personal hygiene and check the condition and cleanliness of kitchen utensil. For the corrective action, wash again the vegetables and wash the kitchen utensil or use other one. For putting, it has biological hazard. With the CP, the bread must be stored in a dark and dry place. And for the CCP, the store bread in room temperature and duration storage of bread is between 5 to 7. For the preventive measure, record and check regularly of the storage date and regular checking of bread condition. For the corrective action, discard bread if already expired or have presence of mold and yeast. Lastly, for the serving, it has biological hazard, where the CP the plate used must be clean, and for the preventive measure, check the condition and cleanliness of plate used, and for the corrective action, wash the chicken utensil or use other one. Flowchart of serving for non-caffeinated herbal tea. Washing is CP1, cutting is CP2, peeling CP3, boiling is CCP1 and straining is CP5 and ready to be served is CP6. HACCP plan table. For washing, it has physical hazard and chemical hazard. For the CP, the water used must be clean. Preventive measure, check the cleanliness of water and check the condition of ingredient. For the corrective action, use other source of clean water and wash ingredient again if still dirty. For cutting, it has biological hazard. With the CP, the handler must wash hand and preventive measure, personal hygiene and check the condition and cleanliness of kitchen utensil used. For corrective action, wash again the ingredients and wash the kitchen utensil or use other one. For peeling is biological hazard. The handler must wash hand and cutting board and use must be clean and safe. For the preventive measure, personal hygiene and check the orange skin condition and cleanliness of kitchen utensil used. Corrective action, wash again the orange skin and wash the kitchen utensil or use other one. For boiling is physical hazard and biological hazard. The CP is water must be clean. The CCP is correct temperature of boiling water. And for the preventive measure, regular checking of water temperature and continue boiling until temperature is 100 for the corrective action. For straining, that's biological hazard. And for the CP, the filter of strainer and cup must be safe and clean. And for the preventive measure, check the condition and cleanliness of kitchen utensil. And for corrective action, wash the kitchen utensil or use other one. And lastly, for the serving is biological hazard. The plate used to serve must be clean. And for the preventive measure, check the condition and cleanliness of plate used. And for the corrective action, wash the kitchen utensil or use another one.
My name is Naraina Fariza binti Azman. So today I want to present about the HACCP plan table for the lunch menu for Crohn's disease patient. The menu is white rice, grilled salmon, mixed vegetable soup, papaya and ice lemon tea. So this is the process of the serving or evaluation of the white rice. There are 4 steps, which is storage, preparation, cooking and serve. In this HACCP plan table, there are 3 steps which is considered to be critical point, which is step 1 is storage. The hazard is contamination by pests such as rice weevils and physical contaminants such as dirt, hair and nails. The control measure is the food is covered during the storage, and the monitoring procedure is observe the storage daily. The corrective action is discard any contaminated food that has been affected. Next is preparation, which is include this step of washing, considered to be CP2. The hazard is physical hazard, which is dirt and forage material. The control measure is wash the rice properly, at least 3 times. Each wash take only 15 seconds. And the monitoring procedure is observe the quality of water. The corrective action is use other water from the clean source. Next is serve, which is considered to be CP3. The hazard is growth of food poisoning bacteria. The control measure is food held hot, which is immediately serve the food after the cook. And the monitoring procedure is probing of the food for every service. And the corrective action is discard any food in the food danger zone. Okay, this is the process of the serving or evaluation of the grilled salmon. there are 5 steps, which is from the frozen storage to the thawing, preparation, cooking, and serving. In this HACCP table for the grade segment, the first step is frozen storage is considered to be CP1. The hazard is growth of bacteria such as Listeria monocytogenes. The control measure is store the fish in the freezer at temperature which is negative 18 degrees Celsius or below that can inhibit the bacterial growth. The monitoring procedure is the freezer temperature must be recorded twice a day, and the corrective action is the freezer temperature is adjusted. Next is the preparation, which is the include step cutting and washing, considered to be CP2. The hazard is physical hazard, such as the fish which will contaminated with dirt or foreign material. The control measure is wash the fish properly using clean water tap and separate the equipment for raw material and cooked food. The monitoring procedure is visual check during the preparation, and the corrective action is discard food that have been contaminated. Next step is serving, which is CP3. The hazard is biological hazard. The control measure is protected from the contamination, and the monitoring procedure is probing of the food for every service, and the corrective action is discard any food in food danger zone. There are 2 steps which considered to be CCP or OPRP. In thawing is considered to be OPRP because it can be controlled, and the hazard is the possible hazard is growth of bacteria. The control measure is make sure the running water from the clean source. The monitoring procedure is temperature check during the thawing, and the critical limit is the thaw at room temperature. The time food is at temperature between 5 and 60 degrees Celsius. The corrective action is thaw the fish on a shelf below the ready-to-eat food. And CCP2 is cooking. The hazard is survival of food poisoning bacteria such as Salmonella. Is considered to be biological hazard because Salmonella can growth in the undercooked fish. The control measure is thorough cooking to specified temperature for a set length of time. The monitoring procedure is probing of the food. The critical limit is the cooking temperature must more than 95 degrees Celsius for at least 30 minutes. And the corrective action is cook the fish until specified temperature is achieved. Next is the flowchart of the serving or evaluation of the mixed vegetable soup. There are 4 steps, which is the chill storage, preparation, cooking, and serve. In this HACCP table, the step 1 is chill storage. From the chill storage, which considered to be CP1, the hazard is potential growth of bacteria such as E. coli and Salmonella. The control measure is store the vegetable in the refrigerator at the temperature that inhibit the bacterial growth, which is 4 degrees Celsius or below. The monitoring procedure is refrigerator temperature must be recorded twice a day, and the corrective action is the temperature adjusted. Next is step 2, which is the preparation, include washing and cutting, considered to be CP2. The hazard is physical hazard such as dirt or forage material, and the chemical hazard pesticide residual. The control measure is wash the vegetable properly till the dirt disappeared, and the monitoring procedure is visual check during the preparation, and the corrective action is wash again the vegetable if they still have dirty or pesticide on the vegetable. Next is CP3, which is serve. The hazard is contamination of high risk food with food poisoning bacteria, physical or chemical contaminant. The control measure is protected from the contamination, and monitoring procedure is probing of the food, and the corrective action is discard the food in food danger zone. Cooking is considered to be CCP1. The hazard is survival of food poisoning bacteria, and the control measure is thorough cooking to specified temperature for set length of time, and the monitoring procedure is probing of the food for every batch. The critical limit is the cooking temperature must more than 95 degrees Celsius for at least 15 to 20 minutes. The corrective action is cooked until the specified temperature is achieved. Okay, this is the project of the papaya. The step is from the chill storage, preparation, and serving. Okay, in this HACCP table, considered in this preparation of the papaya, considered to be only critical point. The first step is chill storage. The possible hazard is growth of bacteria. The control measure is store the fruit in the refrigerator at temperature that inhibit the bacterial growth, which is the temperature is 4 degrees Celsius or below. The monitoring procedure is the freezer temperature must be recorded twice a day, and the corrective action is temperature is adjusted. Next is preparation considered to be CP2, includes step washing, peeling, and cutting. The possible hazard is physical hazard and chemical hazard. And the control measure is wash the fruit properly and separate the equipment for the raw and cooked material, cooked food. And the monitoring procedure is visual check during the preparation, and the corrective action is wash again the fruit if still have dirty or pesticides. And lastly is serving. The hazard is contamination of food, poisoning bacteria. The control measure is food held under chill condition, and monitoring procedure is probing of the food for every service, and the corrective action is temperature of chill holding unit is adjusted. Next is the flowchart of the serving or version of the ice lemon tea. There are also 3 steps, which is storage, preparation, and serving. And in this preparation of the ice lemon tea also contain critical point only. Step 1 is storage. The hazard is deterioration of ambient food due to moisture or excessive temperature. The control measure is correct storage of dry foods. Monitoring procedure is visual check the storage twice a day. And the corrective action is discard the stock if they already expired. Second step is preparation, which considered to be CP2. The hazard is bacteria or physical hazard by the food handler. The control measure is control over personal hygiene standard. The monitoring procedure is visual check of personal hygiene during the preparation, and corrective action is discard any food contaminated. The serving is considered to be CB3. The hazard is physical contamination of food by the broken glass. The control measure is check the condition of the glass before served to the patient, and monitoring procedure is probing of the food for every service. The corrective action is contaminated food that has been discarded.
The dinner menu that we suggest for Crohn disease patient is spaghetti bolognese, blueberry muffin, and also some banana smoothie. Spaghetti bolognese, this is the flow diagram. First, we have storage of minced beef, cutting, mixing with other ingredients, cooking, and there is also storage of spaghetti, cooking, and lastly served with the sauce. For the HACCP plan table, in the first step, which is storage of minced beef, the control measure is proper storage temperature sufficient to prevent pathogen growth, and the monitoring procedure is observe the storage daily. So the corrective action is adjust cooler temperature. In CP2, we have cutting. The hazard is physical hazard, which is foreign object. So the control measure is keep facilities, equipment, utensils for the operation properly sanitized. Visual check during preparation. And the corrective action is discard contaminated food. In CP3, we have mixing. So the hazard is biological hazard, which is pathogen contamination. And the control measure is make sure the mixing period is less than 2 hours. So the monitoring procedure is visual check during preparation. And the corrective action is modify and followed by uniform formulation mix. CP4, we have storage of spaghetti. The hazard is physical hazard, which is foreign object. And the control measure is make sure packaging is not damaged. So the monitoring procedure is observe the packaging during the delivery. Corrective action is discard contaminated product. Lastly, CP5, which is serving. So the hazard is physical hazard, which is foreign object. So the control measure is compliant with good personal hygiene practices. And the monitoring procedure is probing of food for every service. Lastly, the corrective action is contaminated food discarded. In CCP, we have the process step of cooking of spaghetti and sauce. In cooking spaghetti, which is CCP1, so the significant hazard is bacterial pathogen growth. So the critical limit is do not let the cooked spaghetti out too long at room temperature or too long in the refrigerator as leftovers. This is the monitoring step, which is holding temperature and time. By recording the monitoring time, perishable foods should be at room temperature. Continuously check the cooked spaghetti condition within 2 hours at room temperature. That must be performed by the cook. Sauce cooking, which is CCP2. So the significant hazard is bacterial pathogen survival. The critical limit is cook at 70 degrees Celsius for 3 minutes minimum. The monitoring procedure is cooking time and cooking temperature and time. Check temperature on the sauce if it is more than 75 degrees Celsius at least or more, and maintain the temperature for 3 minutes minimum. Continuously check the temperature over time and have a timer to keep track of the time. This must be performed by the cook. So the corrective action is the sauce must be cooked for a longer period of time until the product's internal temperature reaches at least 75 degrees Celsius for a minimum of 3 minutes. The apple juice. So this is the flow diagram of apple juice. First, we have cold storage, washing, grinding, filtering, and serve. For the hazard plan table, in CP1 we have cold storage, so the hazard is biological hazard. And the control measure is store in refrigerator at temperature 4 degrees Celsius or below. And the monitoring procedure is refrigerator temperature recorded twice a day. So the corrective action is adjust cooler temperature. In CP2, which is washing, we have biological hazard, which is pathogen contamination. So the control measure is water treatment, and the monitoring procedure is examine water source before use. And the corrective action is eliminate contaminated product. In CP3, we have grinding. The hazard is physical hazard, which is a foreign object. The control measure is a visual inspection, and the monitoring procedure is keep facilities, equipment, utensils in proper condition. So the corrective action is eliminate contaminated product. In CP4, we have serving. The hazard is physical hazard, which is foreign object, and the control measure is compliant with good personal hygiene practices, food for every service, and lastly, for corrective action, we have to discard contaminated food. Blueberry muffin. This is the flow diagram for the blueberry muffin. First, we have raw material storage, weighing, mixing, baking, cooling, and serve. The hazard plan table for the blueberry muffin. In CP1, which is storage, the hazard is biological hazard, which is pathogen growth. So the control measure is store in refrigerator at temperature 4 degrees Celsius or below. So the monitoring procedure is refrigerator temperature recorded twice a day. The corrective action is adjust cooler temperature. In CP2, which is washing, the hazard is biological hazard, pathogen contamination, so the control measure is water treatment. And the monitoring procedure is examine water source before use. The corrective action is contaminated product eliminated. In CP3, which is weighing, the hazard is physical hazard, foreign object. The control measure is compliant with good personal hygiene practices. Monitoring procedure is preparing time. The corrective action is contaminated food eliminated. In mixing before, the hazard is biological hazard, which is pathogen contamination. Control measure is make sure mixing period is less than 2 hours. Monitoring procedure is visual check during preparation. And the corrective action is modify and remix using uniform formulation mix. In CP5, which is cooling, the hazard is biological hazard, which is microbial contamination. So the control measure is monitor the cooling temperature and time. Monitoring procedure is cooling time. Corrective action is cooled up to the stated period. In CP6, which is serve, the hazard is physical hazard, which is foreign object. The control measure is compliant with good personal practices. And the monitoring procedure is proving of food for every service. And lastly, for corrective action, contaminated food discarded. For the CCP monitoring, the process step is baking, which is CCP1, the survival of pathogens. So the monitoring procedure is temperature and time. Temperature at 200 degrees to 200 degrees Celsius of 10 to 12 minutes. Insert the thermometer into the center of the product and wait until the thermometer's reading is ready. Continuously throughout the baking process that must be performed by the cook. So the corrective action is reset the binomial time and temperature. So as a conclusion, HACCP prioritize and control potential hazards in food production by controlling major food risks such as microbiological, chemical, physical contaminants. The industry can be better assure consumers that its product is safe. Some benefits of HACCP-based procedure include save the businessman money in the long run. Second, avoid consumers from being poisoned. And third, safety and quality standards increase. HACCP system is very useful tool in food organizations, commitment from the management, the employees in the organization, and further monitoring for all kinds of food processes are much required in HACCP system.